Hey, so today, well, tonight for me, it's 11:25 p.m. I just want to talk about, I guess, relationships, because I know I personally have a lot of problems with relationships, and a lot of it's kind of been on my mind, because, being a teenage girl, like, we're all about, well, teenagers in general really aren't into the whole serious relationship, and you really don't get into serious relationships until, like, college or something. And even then, like, some people, they're just like, I want to do whatever I want, however I want, whenever I want. I'll worry about all that stuff later. I just want to have sex, or I want to just party, or whatever. So really, I mean, it depends on the person, but, and, like, teenagers, we all have, teenage girls, at least that I know, have this, like, fairy tale relationship thing, and it's just interesting how, like, middle school, well, actually elementary school, it starts at elementary school, you start seeing pairs appearing everywhere. Sorry, I'm making my dinner. It's ramen noodles, good stuff. Anyway, like, elementary school totally does not count. It's like a guy or a girl claims the other, and it's like, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend, and they go around saying that, and they absolutely despise each other, and they, like, say that the other has cooties and all this other fun stuff. And then, like, middle school, it's like, oh, I'm dating them, okay, I'm not dating them, and I sort of am dating them, and we kind of hang out all the time, and we sort of talk, and then, like, high school, you start getting serious, some people go as far as, like, they have sex all the time, and blah, 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 they date for months, and then they break up, and it's this huge deal, everybody cries. Or sometimes you're one of those lucky people who date in high school, and you end up marrying who you date in high school. But, a lot of advice that's given, I have given personally to all my friends, and usually it's pretty good. We can give good advice to our friends, but then when it comes to our own self about relationships and where we start, what we want, and how we run our relationships, we don't follow the advice we give our friends, and they end up having to give the same thing to us. So really, and we, whether we heed it or not, it's like we know it, but we aren't doing it. And really, it's because I think, personally, we're looking for the wrong thing in a relationship. At least that's what's come up in my life, like the type of relationship I want. Like, I would love to get married and be happy, but I've come to find that, having a relationship, trying to figure everything out and trying to find love and, in the real sense, is not really what you can find here in a human, like, on Earth, like another human being, like the opposite sex. I find, I'm not saying anything because, like, you can love a person a lot, and you can find your soulmate and all that fun stuff, but, kind of have a messed up view about love and relationships and everything else. Like this, plugging it again because it's so awesome, but this book right here that I kind of mentioned a couple weeks ago in my videos or whatever, Crazy Love, really got me thinking about love. And my relationship, especially with God, and just the way I view my relationship with Him, and how I view my relationship with other people, and how I've felt, there's separate things, God, you're my God all the time, except for when I'm with so-and-so. That's going to be him and I, and only him and I, and, I'll think about you and blah, 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 other times, and I'll praise you, and I'll thank you for him, but really I'm not going to have you kind of be that. It's just going to be me, him and I. You don't need to be in my relationship, but really that's wrong. Really what it needs to be is God. It's always you and me. Always, always, always you and me, God. And if I can have this other person in my life, and you be the center of that relationship, that'd be amazing. I didn't view it that way. And I think that might be why my relationship personally hasn't worked out. God's not in the center. That's my problem. And I think it's just a lot of us, we don't think that our relationship with God and our love for God and our love relationship with Him is important. Or at least important enough to affect our lives. And this goes for any relationship besides outside of romantic relationship, any relationship between your parents and your kids and your teachers and your bosses and your anybody, any type of relationship that you can think of. We don't think that God has a part in that relationship, and that we, but what we forget to realize is that God is love, and what we share when we have relationships is various different types of love. My love, if I were to say I love you to my sister, to a friend of mine, it's different types of love. Yes, it's still love, and yes, I still care about both of them. It's just one's my sister and one's my friend, And sometimes, you can love your friends like they're siblings, because they're so close to you. Whereas if I were to tell, let's say I had a boyfriend or whatever, if I was to tell him I love him, it's going to be different than if I tell my sister or my mom or whoever. It's different types of love. But it's still love. And seeing as God is love, and it tells us in the Word that God is love, talks about, I'm pretty sure 1 Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind, does not boast, and all that fun stuff. Like, somewhere in the Bible, in the New Testament, it talks about all the attributes of love. And somewhere else in the Bible, it talks about God, how God is love. That's who He is, among many other things, and He's the definition of love. And He can't do anything but love, because that is who He is. And when you think about love that way, as in that's a person, or it's a being, not a person really, but it's a being, the creator of the universe, He is love, and what you're sharing Him with other people when you have those relationships, when you have those different kinds of love. And when you think about it that way, that ratifies your relationships, and how you will view them, and how you treat them, and how you respect them, and how you go about interacting with these people. It's just like, I'm going to tell my sister, hey, I love you. It's like, I'm sharing God right now, and if I lie, it's against God, because you're just like, you just totally denied who He is, and you just totally messed that up right there, and so, if you think about it that way, then you have to really consider love, because we throw around love like it's nothing, like, yeah, I love you, oh, yeah, and then it's like, especially like, okay, for example, if, you're dating somebody, you start liking them a whole lot, and you really think that like is not a, crushing or whatever, is not infatuation, people think those words are, and they start to think that, oh, I'm in love with this person, and you're dating for like only, you can't really say, but you're dating for a while and whatever, and then all of a sudden you break up with them, and then it's just like, I don't love them anymore, I hate them, and yada yada. That's not love. That's extreme like. When you love, that is etched forever as a part of you, because you're giving a part of your soul away. You're sharing a part of yourself with that other person, and that's, you're, like I said, you're kind of sharing God in that sense. You're sharing a deeper thing, is I guess what I'm trying to get at. You're sharing something deeper than that, and if you really, really, really actually love somebody, you don't just stop. God is continuous. Love is continuous. It's always, always there. It just may transition into a different type of love, as in there are different types. So, I guess what I'm saying is love is just so, the word is just so misused now, and so, it's overrated, the way we use it in today's society, and how we're just like, going along with everything, and how we don't really care like we should. Love is a big thing. You can't just say you love a person and then hate them like a month later and curse them and talk about them behind their back and all this other stuff, unless maybe you're doing that out of hurt because that person broke your heart or whatever, and so you really still do love them. You don't actually hate them, so then you're just being angry. That could be the case, or the case could be you never loved them. You have to stop demoting love and demoting who God is, because that's what you're doing in a sense. That's what you're essentially doing, is you're saying, no, you're not this amazing creator of the universe. You're just this whatever, maybe here, maybe there. It might have happened, it might not have happened, you might exist, you might not exist, sort of thing. It's like you either are or you aren't. You either are in love, you aren't in love. God either is or He isn't, which He is, by the way, and if you think otherwise, I highly encourage you to to really think about why you think that, and to really check out your beliefs and check it with with just the beliefs and the way the Bible is. Look in the Bible or talk to a reliable source or whatever. But anyways, like, that's not my main point, but definitely want to check that out and check yourself why you may or may not be a Christian, or why you may or may not love God, and why you believe what you believe. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying you're gonna go to hell or whatever, which that's a whole other thing I'm just saying. It's not the truth. But anyway, get back on the point. Sorry, go off on tangents. What is love, and why is it something that everybody wants? And that is what I will leave you with.